my name is Britta Blake with Baker Hoppen Associates. Today we have Heidi Grix, President and CEO of the Blood Cancer Foundation. Heidi, thank you very much for joining me on the call to action.
Thank you, Britta. I very much appreciate being here today.
So Heidi, after 68 years of being known as the Children's Leukemia Foundation, the nonprofit has changed its name to the Blood Cancer Foundation, as 84% of the patients you serve are adults with different forms of blood cancer. Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear more about what the Blood Cancer Foundation does and how it serves its patients.
Sure. Thank you for opening with that. That's a really great piece to open on. We were founded in 1952, and at that time it was about a group of families that came together who had each lost a child to leukemia. At that time, leukemia in a pediatric patient was about 90% fatal. So there weren't great treatments, there weren't wonderful therapies, and those families faced very difficult hardships with their young children who developed this disease, and 90% of them lost the battle. These families came together and they said, we don't want anyone to have to walk alone. So their initial goal was just to support families, just to walk the road with them, to be available to them as a resource and someone to talk to, really, at that time. They very soon afterwards started to fundraise to try to put money toward finding therapies and a cure, and always maintained that family support, started to put money toward the different types of support that a family might need. Let's see, I think it was about 3 years into the founding when the board of directors was asked by a man with a family who had been diagnosed with blood cancer, and he requested support for his family, and the board very wisely recognized that his family was suffering the same way that the siblings and adults in a family of a pediatric patient were suffering, so they decided to extend the services. So we've been helping adults who are also helping adults who are diagnosed with blood cancer since about 1955 or 1956. And that is one of the bases for changing our name. The other is, of course, we had leukemia in our name, which is one of the blood cancers that we serve. But in all, we service about 200 types and subtypes of blood cancers. And so that word leukemia is only a piece of what we do. And we really wanted to have a name that embraced our full constituency and embraced the total number of diseases that we serve. So we're really excited about the new name and about the broader reach that it brings us. And we're hoping that we'll reach a lot more patients through that new name. So let me stop. I realize I went off on the name for a moment. So before I tell you about our services, let me ask if you have any questions.
No, that's perfect. And, you know, with blood cancer being a higher risk for COVID, yeah, I'd love to know how you're coping with the COVID, your patients, and being able to still provide services during this time.
Yeah. So when COVID hit, we immediately put into place a plan that we had been working on for a few months beforehand. And it involved shifting all of our services to a remote delivery system. First, we took care of our people who were working inside of our offices. We sent them home. It was actually the week before COVID, and I said, I want everyone to take the equipment. We had invested in some equipment. Take your equipment home, try it out, see if it works for you. Let's iron out the bugs now. Chances are we're never going to have to use this, so don't worry about it. But let's just try it and make sure that it works. And that was the week that the shutdown happened, actually. So a few folks went home and never came back. A few folks went home for a couple of days and came back. Now, of course, we are in and out of the office as we need to, and we have a small number of people going in on a daily basis. Our services, of course, were the second thing. Making our workforce remote was the first step in ensuring that the services continue to our patients. So a moment on those services, they are disease education and information. They're social work-based emotional support and case management. It's financial assistance, and it's social support. And that last one, that social support, I'll tell you a little bit more about all of those items in a moment, but that social support is the piece that has been most effective for our patients. Many of them are used to living isolated lives because their immune systems are so compromised with blood cancer that COVID is just the next step for them in, okay, we've been living here in this isolation for this long. Now we have to take it up a level to ensure that we're being even more careful with any type of exposure that we might have. So our goal is to help them make sure they have all of the resources available to do that and maintain their lives while they're getting their treatment. They have to, obviously go out in public, go to the hospital, go to the healthcare setting to receive those treatments. We want to make sure that we can assist them in every way possible to protect them as they're out and about and getting their treatments. If they have to go to the bank, if they have to go for labs, whatever it is, we want to support them through it. So lots of pivoting. That's a word that none of us used a whole lot before the COVID situation, isn't it? The first three parts of our service are largely unchanged. We've been delivering service through the telephone largely for many, many years. We picked up some Zoom appointments. We started offering that in case patients wanted to have that or caregivers wanted to meet by Zoom. We also started texting. With the purchase of the technology to allow us to work from home, all of our social workers, we call them patient support specialists, received a cell phone that was independent of their regular cell phone, so they could communicate independently with patients and still do it in a private way to ensure their privacy. So we found that a number of our patients like to text, and so we're allowing them to do that. And that's helping in service. Information education, we'll answer questions about your disease, about your treatments. We'll give you the opportunity to talk things through before you go back to the doctor's office, because there's so much information that you get and so much, just so much knowledge that comes from it that sometimes it's difficult to sort out. So our social workers will help folks to kind of sort through the information that they receive from the doctor's office. Then we'll put a customized plan together. That's the emotional support and case management. Our patient support specialists will actually work with the patient to find out if they're in a critical state right now, what kind of support do they need immediately, where do they anticipate seeing problems. As you're going through treatment, we know that some things might happen. You might not know that as a patient or a caregiver, so we can help you prepare for those things. We know that the costs continue to go up. When you're first diagnosed, you understand that you've got this big fight in front of you. Sometimes you don't necessarily yet understand how expensive that fight is going to be. So we'll actually help you by having conversations about what that looks like in the future, what your out-of-pocket costs are. How does that threaten your ability to maintain your lifestyle the way that it is? Maybe there are things that we should do or you should consider doing to reduce your expenses now as you're starting treatment, or look at that 6 months, a year, 18 months, 24 months down the road. Treatments for blood cancer can be very long. They can last for the rest of your life in some cases, depending on the type of blood cancer that you get. The third area is that financial support, which we bring to bear on that plan. Through that customized plan, we'll find out what resources that are needed. We'll bring resources from our own opportunities, and we'll go out to the community and find other nonprofit organizations, corporations, individuals who can help as well. And we'll put a resource package together to make sure that we're meeting the needs today, tomorrow, the next day, next week, next month, next year for each patient. That involves financial assistance in two areas. One is a reimbursement account, and that involves travel reimbursement, medication, co-pays, over-the-counter medications for expenses associated with the disease, overnight stays and things like that. The second area is an emergency fund where patients can apply for a grant to cover expenses that are not normally associated with the disease, but that might be threatening with the disease. The car breaks down. You might be under threat of eviction from your home or your apartment. You may not be able to buy food, things like that. So we want to make sure that we are putting that package together to meet whatever the needs are for each patient. So it's very customized. The last area is the one that I said was being more challenged by COVID, and that's our social support. We regularly every year have holiday toys open houses. We have Valentine's Day parties. We have Halloween parties. We have summer picnics. We send families to the water park. We send families to the movies, to Greenfield Village, to Tigers games and hockey games and basketball games. We have just an enormous social program to help families get out when they can, once they're at a point in their disease treatment that they can get out of the house. We'll make sure that they can at no cost to them, because the expenses are an issue. And so that is the thing that has really been the most difficult for us. Our patients can't get out. They're missing the social support of being with other families. They're missing the ability to go out and have a nice evening where they might feel a little bit of relief from the constant knowledge that they have a disease that they're fighting that is deadly. So that was a lot.
Well, Heidi, you did bring up, finances and the burden of finances. And I know that with COVID, there's been a lot of regulations on fundraising for the Blood Cancer Foundation, which has cut revenue due to cancellation of spring and summer fundraising. And I'd love to know how individuals like myself and companies like Baker Hop can get involved and help support the Blood Cancer Foundation. Thank
you for asking that question. That is, it's a generous question to ask, and I very much appreciate you doing that. I have a couple of areas that I can talk about. One is that the financial piece. Obviously, during our spring fundraising season, all of our events were canceled or postponed, and so we're fortunate that we were able to access some emergency funding, and some donors stepped up, and so we're able to deliver services that are uninterrupted at this point. We don't know how long the situation is going to go on, so we're trying to retool to ensure that services don't get interrupted. So that financial piece is always the first one for, I think, any nonprofit that you ask at this point. We also have a really amazing program that we're just entering the season for right now, and that's our Holiday Toys program. We normally send out holiday toy packages to families who have children. So it's children who are diagnosed, it's siblings of children who are diagnosed, and it's the children of any adult who is diagnosed and on service with us. Oftentimes, when out-of-pocket expenses go up and income goes down, because that often happens when you're in treatment because you can't go to work, your immune system is compromised, and if you're too sick to work, if it's your child, you can't send your child to school or to daycare, which we're probably not doing right now anyway, except in limited cases. But the Holiday Toys program allows families to have a holiday, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate at the end of the year, in the way that you choose to, without the weight of having to pay for it. We send packages out that are customized for each child, that they actually send in a sheet that says, here's what my child really wants for Christmas. And we have toys that are donated throughout the year and at the Christmas season. And then we have volunteers who normally come in, go shopping on our shelves, put packages together, and we mail them out to the families. As you can imagine, several aspects of what I just described here are going to be extremely difficult this year. We can't have large groups of volunteers coming into the office. Many companies are either closed or working remotely. It makes it difficult to consider doing toy drives in an office setting. Many social groups aren't getting together. So those toy drives, even though they're still trying to do them and trying to help out, we are concerned that we will have some difficulty meeting the needs. Now, this is about 260 families, and it's about 700 children, just under 700 children. Last year it was 670. We've had some generous donors step forward. But if there's one thing that Baker Hop and companies like Baker Hop can do, or individuals who might be watching this, consider either donating toys or adopting a family. We're trying to shift our model into a family adoption sort of model so that we can ensure that we are getting as many of our families taken care of as we can in ways that work for people who want to donate toys. And if you tell us, I'd like a family with 2 kids, we will customize your family for you for 2 kids. If you say I want a family for 1 child, we'll do that too. We also have families that are 10 and 12 kids. And so we have all types of families and lots of opportunity. As we enter the holiday season, it's a great way to feel good about your holiday, your family's holiday, and helping other people.
Absolutely. Well, Heidi, thank you so much for speaking about the blood cancer's call to action.
Thank you. I very much appreciate you having me, and happy holidays.
Yes,
A little
thank
early.
you. For more information on how you can get involved, please see the link above. Until next time, stay safe and thanks for watching.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.